could be an attached structure, but you could build, it's a development lot, you could build just a separate garage without the
And that would be space-wise.
How big? Can I put a 1,500 square foot garage in there?
Because he's got 20 foot. Jesus. That would have been easier a month and a half ago.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what happened there. I apologize for that. Let's double check with Vicky on this real quick and just make sure.
Yeah, just understanding what kind of square footage he can have for his garage.
Can I have more than that 1,500 square foot garage?
That's
Can I do
what
that?
we'll find out. What's too fast there, Big Daddy-O? That would mean
Her name is Tati. She always does this. She came in, said she.
Good morning. Welcome to the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for September 7th, 2023. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the Planning Commission agenda today, there are speaker request forms on the table along the left wall. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the staff seated on the left over here. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, that you either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. Item number 1 has been placed on the consent calendar and may be approved without a formal reading. They're usually as a group, but not today. Action will be taken on the consent item in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the city council. The city council will make the final decision with the exception of the following item. And there are no items to appeal, so no appeal language. Would staff like to remove item number 1? Would any planning commissioner like to remove item number 1? And any audience member want us to consider the meeting minutes from the last meeting separately? All right, Mike Quasney made the motion to approve item number 1.
Second.
And Vince seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you will give us just a few minutes, the planner, Alex Osborne, actually wrote this project report, and Alex is not with us today. We have 2 staff members in the audience visiting with the applicant. Based on the present proposal, staff was not able to bring forward a recommendation to approve. So we are trying to work with them to see if there is a design that would work. So if we could just maybe take a moment, or Kip, are you ready to go to item number 3? And then we could come back to item number 2. Kip?
Yeah.
If you can make the presentation on number 3.
Oh, we can do number 2.
Okay,
We're fine. We just wrapped it up. Thank you.
thank you.
Morning, Kip Harrington, Long Range Planning Division. This item is 23 UR 024, which is a conditional use permit for an oversized garage. Let me grab my notes real quick, please. I don't normally print them out this big. They just came off the printer that way, but then now I don't need my glasses, so it's kind of a blessing in disguise. So this is an oversized garage at 4834 Patricia Street. You can see right now that it is just a vacant lot. It's a 0.16 acre lot, zone medium density residential. As you can see, the zoning is medium-density residential. The house next door, which is owned to the east, which is owned by the applicant as well, is zoned low-density residential. Future land use is urban neighborhood, and Patricia Street is classified as a local street on the major street plan. So here's the design of the garage. The applicant is proposing to build a 3-stall garage with some living space. We went through a couple different iterations of design to try to make it look a little more residential and fit in with the character of the neighborhood. So up here is the front with the 3 stalls, a door, and a window, and then a door on the side, and then the back will feature a door, some windows, and sliding glass door where the living space is actually located to the rear of the building. Here's the floor plan. As you can see here, the living space includes a bedroom, a bathroom, a kitchen, and a living area. And then there is a storage area and separate from the garage, but not available from the living space. And there is also a bathroom and mechanical room for the garage, including, and then the 3 stalls of the garage right there. The floor area of the proposed garage is 1,724 square feet, which will exceed the, is that incorrect? I'm sorry, 1,500 square feet. There was an issue in the staff report. So there is approximately 576 square feet of living space. Okay, that was a correction that was made yesterday. Here's some more information on the garage showing the proposed elevation of the garage, and then also the layout of the garage and the living space behind it. And again, the overall dimensions of the garage. So I took some site photos yesterday to give you an idea of the character of the neighborhood. So this is the property directly to the west, this black chain link fence that you can kind of see here. That is the boundary of the vacant lot that the structure is proposed being built on. And then here's another shot of the vacant lot. You can see the sign posted, and this is the applicant's current residence located right here. And showing the sign was posted, this gives you an idea of the lot itself. Friendly dog came out to visit me, and that was nice. And then this is looking from the corner down on Patricia Street, looking back towards where the proposed garage or garage and structure would be located. And again, this is the applicant's current residence. We were concerned about how this would fit into the character of the neighborhood. So I went around and took some pictures of some of the existing structures in the neighborhood as well that are similar, but yet a little different. So this is the house that's directly kitty corner across the street on Patricia. And then I went out and tried to find some houses in the neighborhood that have 3-car garages to kind of see if they fit in with the character as well. So these are a couple directly west of the proposed structure. So you can see the 3-car garages here. And then here's a sample of a house that is predominantly garage that you would see. We would like to note the difference between the applicant's proposal and these type of structures is the variation in the facade, where generally the garage is put forward and the door and the windows are recessed back to kind of separate that garage area from the living area, kind of show where that entrance is, and some other 3-car garage structures that are located within the neighborhood. And going back to the elevations, as you can see, this one is a little different, where it's basically just a flat front wall featuring the door and the window. So we looked around this a lot, and we had a lot of discussions about this, and we did not come up with a recommendation to approve, as it does not seem to fit the character of the neighborhood, as it looks more just like a garage instead of an actual house. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him on the proposed use. There will be no commercial use allowed in the structure itself, and I'm available for any questions, as is the applicant. I believe we have a speaker request form on this as well.
Yeah, we do have a speaker request from Jason Culberson, if you'd like to address the commission.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. Jason Culberson. I live adjacent to Mr. Winger. I'm here as a private citizen today, so we're clear. I'm probably the closest to this property than anybody. In the picture, you can see the back of my house Dan and I have been neighbors for 20-plus years at this point, friends since that time. One of the best guys you'd ever want to meet, especially the best neighbor. So he and I have talked extensively about this garage and shop and a garage and living quarters. It's gone through different iterations, quite a few, and over discussions, and he has some friends that are loosely associated with some building stuff around here, including myself. So I'm in here in support of his project. I think one of the things that came out of this is that there's a concern that it doesn't look like some of the structures around, and I agree that it's flat-faced on the front. Some of that could have been easily taken care of through a discussion 2 iterations ago of these plans. Every time he comes back and has to do this, it costs him more money. And unfortunately, we're at this point. I think the plan is still good. It looks similar to many that are in our neighborhood. We've lived out there for 20 years. He's been there for 23 years. We've seen houses change over the course of time in that area. This point, when we were building, there were 2,000 square foot homes with 2-car garages. Now we have 1,600 square foot homes with 2-car garages, intermixed with a few 3-car that are over 2,000 square feet. So there's several different types of homes. About at the end of this development, there was approval of, I believe, 7+ homes that are gonna continue down Patricia Street. The rest of the development's all gonna be apartment complexes behind there, more than likely. That final hasn't been done, I understand that, but that is what's proposed in many of that area. So my hope is that this committee can see the worth of this project. He wants to stay in that area, in that community. Dan's an asset to our neighborhood. And when I say that he's one of the great guys, he is in there helping everybody. He's helped put my fence up, helped me with concrete projects, every neighbor that attached to him and down the street. Many of the houses that they've shown that are up Chet Street there, he went up and helped them do their yard with his equipment. So I hope that you find that this is a worthy project, that this can move forward. I think the project is good, and I hope you approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from the commission? Vicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So when the applicant, who I agree, I think he has been absolutely wonderful to work with, when he first approached us, he was really just needing a large garage on the lot that he owned next door. And we shared with him that that would require the oversize, that it could not be just a standalone garage. It had to have a residential component, or it had to be encapsulated into his single-family home next door. And so our original proposal that we received from him showed the 3 stalls without any other residential features on the front. And noting that that truly just looked like a big garage on the vacant lot next door, Alex did reach out to him. So we did get the man door and the window. The fact that it's not recessed or there isn't any other features, this was the easiest fix that I think he could come up with. Noting that he is the one that truly needs to use this structure, it is important to note that whatever decision that you folks make today, that the applicant is aware that there is no commercial use allowed in this structure. So if he has a business that he owns, no product from that business or commercial vehicles for that business could be parked in this garage. If it were just personal, typical house vehicles and house products that were being stored, that would be allowed. So with that, perhaps the applicant has some comments about his intended use, but we'll defer to you. This is a hard one. I think Kip did a good job showing what we call snout homes along the street, and certainly not something from a planning perspective that is supported. If those were conditional uses because of the size of the garage in comparison to the residential component, we wouldn't have supported those either. In those, the housing portion of it is larger than the garage portion, so it's nothing more than a building permit. In this situation, if half the floor plan, instead of 576 square feet, was being used for residential, we could have, he could have just secured a building permit. So a lot of different things that could have happened to preclude this coming before you. As you know, it's difficult for us to bring an item forward that we don't support without exhausting all of the remedies with the applicant. So with that, perhaps the applicant could discuss how he is proposing to use the garage.
Mr. Winger?
Good morning. My name is Dan Winger. Like Jason said, I moved into my existing house 23 years ago when there were cattle in the backyard and in the front yard. And we've watched this neighborhood develop over the years. I disagree that this thing is gonna stand out in the neighborhood. If you'd really take a look at the homes, there are homes that aren't far off. If they wanted the entry area recessed, maybe we could have talked about that 4 or 5 months ago when I was trying to move forward with this project. I don't have any neighbors that are against it. All my neighbors are for it, unless you guys got a letter back from somebody. I know almost everybody in the neighborhood. Nobody is unhappy with it. And I'd like to add, I do run a business, but I run it up in North Dakota, up in the oil field. I don't have any work equipment down here that stays at my house. Also, my existing home is just too small. It's only me, my wife, and my daughter. We can't get our vehicles in the garage because the garage is just too small. I do plan on, in the future, remodeling my existing garage for living area. Yeah, I'm gonna be stuck with 2 separate properties, but it's the way it is. I'm not going anywhere. Nobody in the neighborhood is unhappy about this. Nobody's got a problem with it. So I don't know what the big deal is. If the neighbors don't care, why would anybody else care? So I'm hoping you approve this. It's all it is, it's an oversized garage. That's all it is. I need that room. My daughter's gonna be driving soon. I've got motorcycles. I need the room so we can get this stuff off of the street. The city doesn't like cars parked on the street. You know, the garages are small. People got stuff, you can't pass 2 cars if they're on the streets. If there's a car on each side, 2 cars can't pass between them. There's not enough room. And I wanna get my stuff off of the street. It'll clean everything up.
Well, thank you, sir. There may be some questions from the commission for you. I don't have any lights up yet, but if you wouldn't mind, I'll just call you back up if there are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
that was very helpful to hear from the applicant that there will be no commercial use. Just as a reminder, this is a standalone home, so the principal use of the property must be established, which is, this is a residential lot, so the residential component needs to be in place, and then the garage would be accessory to it.
Well, certainly a unique situation. I don't recall ever considering an item like this, and I think the rest of the commission is probably in the same boat. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the applicant's comments, and I'm sure that the neighbors all really respect and I'm so glad he's in the neighborhood. I guess for me, I looked at the floor plan, and this is not a home with a garage. This is a garage with living quarters, and that makes a difference in how they enter the home, and it looked like you have to go through the garage to get to the living quarters. I didn't see anything other than the backs had like a sliding glass door or something to get in, and so I have some difficulty trying to equate this with a home, because this is a garage. That's the main thing, and I guess I struggle with it, not just the looks of it, it is a big garage look, but I also look at the future. I mean, someday, we'll have to have a different owner down the road. I mean, could be 50 years, but whatever it is. And somebody else could come in there and it's already established, they're gonna look at that garage and go, this is a great garage, you know, and they're not gonna look at this as this is a home. And that makes a difference in how we look at our community, I think. And so I have difficulty approving that, even though I appreciate the comments and I appreciate the neighborhood, and if everybody loves him, that's great, but they move away, he might move away, it just changes in the future. So I'm looking at this as a whole, I guess. So that's my comments for now. Thanks.
All right, I got another speaker request from Chip Primus, if you'd like to address us.
Thank you, Chip Primus, representing myself, not where I work. This is a separate lot. This has all the means of a house. What's the smallest square foot house that we can have built in Rapid City right now? Is it 150 square feet living space? Is that correct?
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
you need living, sleeping, and bathroom quarters with a minimum square footage of 150, and that's not the issue with this. It's the size of the garage, not the size of the house.
The issue is it has all the components of a house. It's on a separate lot. It can be sold separately. If this garage was smaller, you wouldn't see this. If you go up Chet Street to the end, I should have took pictures, and over by Menards going up Shepherd Hill Common, you see just like this, but you have maybe a little kick out or a kick in of an area. But the facts are this meets all the standards for a single family dwelling on a single lot, and it has all the components, just because it has an oversized garage. And I don't know how many hours we spend on this oversized garage issue. It comes up, I don't know, hundreds of hours. It costs the city money that we have to deal with these. And we need to address that by ordinance and change oversized garage size, so we don't have to deal with this all the time. People have more stuff these days. And the reason this is in front of you is because the oversized garage has all the living quarters. And since it comes forward to the group, to the board, now we have our opinion on what looks good, and it's your opinion. Opinions change, what it looks like. That's your opinion. If it wasn't in front of your board, he could have came and got a building permit and built this just how it is. But if he would have little larger living space. So I don't think staff or the board should have opinion on what something looks like when you're building it, if it meets all the characteristics of the neighborhood. And it does. If you go up the end of Chet Street, you just see garages. So I want the board to take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess in my opinion, if they could do combine the two lots, then that would make sense if you had a garage there instead of what's here today. I mean, isn't that a possibility, Vicki, to combine the lots?
Mr. Chair?
Vicki?
So that is something that Kip and Sarah were visiting with Daniel about before the meeting. He could enter into a developmental lot agreement and then propose to just truly build a garage next to his. Perhaps recess it back, put some landscaping up front to help buffer the appearance of the garage structure, and then maybe build what he originally proposed to build. Whether he wanted to put a residential component in it or not would be his decision. However, that still would require the oversized garage conditional use permit. And I do believe that there has been miscommunication from the planner that was reviewing this and the applicant, much to our disappointment, that these options weren't set forth a month ago so that these discussions would take place outside of this meeting. And I think that his frustration is, we're here, let's just see what happens. But yes, that would be an option, is to do a developmental lot agreement tying this into the home next door and then just building the garage that he wants. Because then it's the garage, it could be 8 foot from the rear lot line, which would allow them to have more of an area to pull off of the street, park other vehicles if they need to, and then even do some landscaping along that street side, which would be in character of a large residential lot. Because we've seen in Park Forest and some of our bigger acreage lots where someone does have a 2-car attached garage and they want to come in with a 3-stall detached garage. And part of it is that it's recessed from the home that it's being constructed next to, so that would meet that condition, that it's of similar building material and color design as the existing home, probably something that could happen in this situation too, and that there's landscaping along the street side, and then it would meet all 3 of those requirements, which the Planning Commission has directed us to review whenever we're looking at an oversized garage. It would meet those things and we would be able to support that request. But I get Daniel's frustration in that he wasn't offered that option when he originally brought in the application.
Thank you, Vicki. That was kind of my thought on the whole subject too, but it is unfortunate if that we're in this position for the applicant, but it also makes it difficult, for people who sympathize with the applicant. And I just feel that this is just not the right type of structure for, not the looks of it so much as just how it plays out. And I wish that he could just combine the 2 lots and just go forward. I think that would be the best option, but thank you.
Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I noticed that the applicant came to the microphone and we could let him answer those issues.
Yeah, Mr. Winger, if you'd like to jump in.
When this process started, they gave me the option of abandoning that lot line. And I looked into that, and I got all the power. I got the power from my house. The transformer from my house is behind my house, and it feeds the 3 houses behind me on Buddy Court. So I would have to, at that time, I was told, when I do that, all the utilities got to be moved at my expense. So I spoke with the power company, and this is going to be expensive. And they said, when I combine the lots, I can't use the existing water and sewer. Well, the sewer comes out of the east side of my house, which means I would have to trench 150 feet to get tied into that. And that's the old sewer system, which is probably sketchy at best. And I would have to cross all the utilities, or cross the water coming into my house and tie into my water. They gave me this option. They said I can't use that other one. So this is where we're at. And again, none of my neighbors have a problem with it. The people that are living in the neighborhood are not unhappy with this at all. And I can name them.
Mr. Chair.
Vicki?
Daniel, if you'll stay there, Mr. Chair, if it's okay that I visit with him.
Sure.
So this wouldn't be platting the lots together, because Public Works will tell you that if you have 1 lot, you get 1 utility service for water and sewer. This would be keeping the lots separate. It would be a developmental lot agreement, doesn't cost you anything. You just agree to it. I, as the director, sign off on it. It would then allow you to use it as 1 property. You don't have any other limitations than that. You could bring in your water and sewer to the garage from the street to the garage itself, leaving your water and sewer to the house in its current location. You don't have to relocate any rear yard utilities as a part of that either. Then down the road, let's say that you have a change of plans and you want to sell your property, but maybe you want to sell the garage lot separate from the house lot. And you find someone that says, I would like this structure, but I do want to put a residential component on it. We would then work with them that if they came in for a building permit, to add that residential component, maybe to the side of it or again to the rear of it, then that would us dissolve the developmental lot agreement. And again, it doesn't cost you any money to do that as well. It's something that can be done administratively. But it would allow you, through just entering into a developmental lot agreement, to truly just build a garage and take away all of the residential component if it's not your intent to actually have someone living on that lot. Because before you can use it as a garage, it has to be used as a residence. And I don't think that's your intent, to have someone actually live.
Well, yes, eventually it is.
But again, as a part of that building permit to get that CO, that has to be primarily used as a residence, secondarily as a garage. Just trying to get back to what it is you truly want to do. You want to build a garage. And that developmental lot agreement.
What I want to build is that.
Okay. So as long as that is his request, and he understands that it has to be actually occupied as a residence, then I'll defer to Planning Commission for your decision.
Thanks, Vicki. The developmental lot agreement just jogged my memory on. I've been trying to search for something that we've discussed in the past that has been similar. I recall a pool house over across from Arrowhead Country Club that was on a separate lot, but it was going to be. Was there a developmental lot agreement on that, and that is how that was approved? Does that one ring a bell with you?
Yes, and that is exactly why they did it that way too. They truly wanted that accessory structure. There was going to be some living quarters, but it wasn't going to be someone's primary residence. It was going to be just an area that they could clean up in and enjoy if they wanted to party next to the pool. And so again, that developmental lot agreement secured that accessory use to the existing single-family residence next door.
Mr. Winger?
Yeah, you wouldn't want me building this and then say VBRO it, correct?
I'm sorry, what was the last part of that?
In
Short-term rental.
Airbnb it
Oh,
or VBRO
gotcha.
it,
It
correct?
would not legally be allowed.
Okay, why, so how about the houses that are being VBRO'd on Cheddar, okay?
Mr. Chair?
Vicki?
They're not okay. And the city is currently working on a short-term rental ordinance. The position that the attorney's office has directed us to approach is that if we receive a complaint, we do send out a letter to cease and desist. And if they don't, then we do implement fines. And
You haven't received a complaint from them.
we have not received a
No.
complaint for those single-family
Yeah,
homes.
because nobody's complaining about it. It's not
We
that big a
do
deal.
rec-
I don't intend on renting this out. This is my space. This is space me and my family need.
Again, we do receive numerous complaints on short-term rentals, and we do address those as they come in.
Mike Klosny?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Feels like there's some lines drawn in the sand and nobody wants to cross over. I guess I have a question for the owner. And was the intent truly just to have the garage? Is that what you wanted originally?
I talked about that I tried to acquire that land prior to that whole area being developed. And I wanted to buy actually more than just that lot, and it never came available, probably because of this development that they were planning. And because I did want to build a garage, initially I did want to build just a garage on there, but I don't have enough room in my house. I bought that house 23 years ago with a 5-year plan to move out of it. It didn't work for a lot of reasons. So we don't have enough room, and that's why I want to take, in the future, remodel my existing garage to living area so we can have a reasonably sized house. But yeah, originally I wanted to have just a garage on there, but I'm past that now.
Okay, I guess I'll go back to, it feels like there's lines drawn in the sand. And I believe Vicki is trying to go within what regulations we have. And I guess I would ask that we figure out a solution that works for all. And as I understand it, there has to be somebody residing in that house that is a part of this garage. And it doesn't sound like right now you have that person residing there. You know, mother-in-law lot, whatever you want to call it, but you don't have that. So then it causes the problem of what do we do as a precedence? What have we established as a precedence? We can get your garage, and that's not a problem. And it can be done right now, as I understand it. But the problem is that this somehow moved into having to have residential in here, and how do we move away from this so that all parties are taken care of and we go through the proper laws that we have, or to move forward. Our goal is to help the residents of this city and abide and take care of all, not just you or the neighbors that approve, but down the road, what happens, what precedents do we set? And that causes other problems. We talk about precedents a lot. So if it's just a garage that you want, and you're not gonna have somebody in here to live in it, so then it causes other problems, I don't know that we have any way that we can go but denying.
But as she said, it's okay to leave it there as long as you don't get a complaint.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
no. If this were to be rented out as a short-term rental, that would not be legal, period. We would tell anybody that, and if we were made aware of it, then we would notice them that they need to cease and desist immediately. This is a separate single-family residential lot. Our ordinance says that the principal use of the lot must be established first or in conjunction with an accessory use. A garage is only allowed accessory to a single-family residence. So if someone is living on this lot where it's their permanent address, this is where they get their mail, then, and this would have its separate address, this lot would be addressed separately. And then you would just be discussing whether or not you are approving an oversized garage with a single-family residence. And I think that the applicant has shared probably more than we typically would get with these applications in the middle of the meeting. And I appreciate your honesty. It's applauded. Trying to figure out solutions and work with them, because I do see validity in what he needs, having lived in that neighborhood for 23 years, knowing that we all have bigger toys. If you've got kids and you've got vehicles, I appreciate that. So how do we make that work? If we enter into a developmental lot agreement, now we don't need someone living there with a permanent address in that structure. They can just use that as accessory to the home. As the kids get older, if you want to rent that to them and they're going off to college, that would be great. But in addition to that, we could get it pushed back on the lot. Now it's meeting the criteria that you've set forward for us to review in order to bring these forward with a recommendation to approve. That garage structure is recessed back from the principal residence, which his house next door would be the principal residence. Work to get some landscaping along the street, and the facade of this garage, if it matched in character with the facade of the existing home, as someone's driving down the street, they're just gonna see this one large lot going, wow, look, he's got a 5-stall garage. I want that too. Again, just trying to find a solution so he gets what he needs and he can actually use the structure as he's intending to. And that developmental lot agreement and pushing the structure back a little bit on the property would get us that solution. Does that make sense, Daniel?
No.
I'm gonna hop in just a second. I kind of see this differently. I try not to comment until everybody's had their say, but I just look at this as a separate lot, and we've approved a lot of oversized garages. This has living space. I don't think when a housing developer builds a new house, a spec house, that we require that that house is immediately occupied. We assume that it will be, you know, and so this idea that this has to be occupied by somebody at CO, I don't think I don't think that exists. If the owner of a house wants to keep it vacant, who are we to say that it's wrong? You know, they're the ones building the house. So I just see this as a interesting design of a small house with a large garage. That's my 2 cents. Haven?
Well, it is a difficult situation, and I just wanted to say I thought Mike Kwasny made some good comments, and I really agree with his comments. I thought he expressed a lot of the issues quite well.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hate to keep making comments, but to me, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels. At where it's at right now, it's going to be hard for me to vote to approve this, and so that would preclude what I'm going to say. If I was the applicant, and I understand the frustration he's gone through and all that, if that was me, I would say, okay, take a break. Let's either postpone it so he can look at the idea of the developmental lot, understand it, and try to make that happen. And I know it'll probably cost a little bit more money because you'll have to redesign the garage or move it back or whatever things you'd have to do. But that would be better than saying deny it and then he's got to go and plead his case to the council or I mean, he's got some choices. But if I was in his spot, I would say, let's do the developmental lot. That would be my first thought, because that's what he gets what he wants, and if he wants to someday put a cot in there to sleep in, you know, it's a garage. But I guess that's my thoughts, and I don't know if I can make a motion after I've talked, but I would make a motion to deny it if he doesn't want to continue this.
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
if you'll let Sarah find the site plan, we've gone this far in the meeting. The things we don't like to do is design a project in the middle of a meeting. But let's look at the site plan. Let's see if there's anything that we can get along the front of this lot that would diffuse that character of the garage.
Can I, we keep talking about the character of the garage being right up front. That's built into our code, you know. We allow every house down the street that's just permitted because of what we require. The minimum distance of the driveway from the right-of-way is 20 feet or 25, whatever it takes to get a car there.
20 feet in this case.
And that's what every developer does, is design houses so the driveway is as small as possible. And I mean, I just struggle asking somebody in a atypical situation to do something that we don't require somebody to do in a typical situation.
So by code, because this is an oversized garage, and if it wasn't, you are right. We don't have that architectural authority.
Mm-hmm.
But because it is an oversized garage, then we do. So this is a site plan showing the home that the applicant lives in to the right and the proposed oversized garage with the residential component to the rear to the left. And Kip, what is that setback?
On the front?
Yes.
20 feet.
Okay.
25 feet on the rear.
So a question for the applicant. Will this have similar building material and colors as the existing residence?
Mr. Winger, are you willing to answer again? Thank you.
We haven't picked any colors at this point for anything. It'll have similar siding to what I have on my house, but it's a separate building. You know, we don't have all the houses on the street looking exactly the same. But I could do it if that's what we decide to do, or I plan on putting some brick veneering on the front, which my house doesn't have. And I would change that on my house if I ever get to remodeling that. But yeah, we haven't picked out any colors because of this process that we're in right now.
It's an attractive looking home that he currently lives in. Tying those two together without the developmental lot agreement, just tying those visually together and getting some trees maybe in front of that man door and maybe between the two structures towards the front, again, gives that buffering. I'm just trying to hit the criteria in the ordinance that we review for an oversized garage in order to give you the opportunity to support this proposal. So if it was of similar building material and color of the existing residence and we had that landscaping, that would meet most of the components. Again, I feel that there's differences of opinion on Planning Commission, just trying to hit that compromise. It would keep it as a separate lot, but visually it would look like it's all tied together. It would have the landscaping that we require for others, that, because we always talk of buffering, what's that screen or landscaping component for that oversized garage. And I think it would meet enough of that potentially you could all come together and support it.
May I?
Mr. Winger, yeah.
Yeah, my house is not a nice looking house. Most of the homes in that area are garbage, and mine's the biggest piece of garbage in the hood. It's a dump. It was built poorly. It's got poor fixtures in it. It's absolute garbage. Going to the landscaping, first of all, there's houses on DeGeese that don't even have a single tree in their yard. I got 3 trees in my existing yard. 2 of them are really nice. And when I get to remodeling my existing garage, that driveway is going to be gone. And that's going to be room for, we want more trees and nicer landscaping. And then nice grass and landscaping around the new building. That's fully my intention to do that.
All right, I've got a few commissioners that looking to talk. Alicia.
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair. I guess a question that I have is, it seems like this is a separate lot and it's zoned residential, so it seems straightforward that it's just not meeting residential requirements based on the size of the garage versus the size of the living space. And kind of as Karen's mentioned, that the garage is really supposed to be an accessory to the living space instead of the main component. So I don't know, it seems sort of straightforward, just that this isn't meeting requirements for as the lot is zoned as a residential use.
Mike Kwasny.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Something you brought up, Eric, I guess, maybe I need to ask Vicki, does it not require a resident to be in place, or I guess I'm not.
Vicki?
Mr. Chair, the ordinance says that the principal use of the property must be established before the accessory uses are allowed. But the chair is right. We don't have any way of policing that. And someone might build a home and use the garage for storage until they sell their existing home and then move into it, whatever the situation may be. But the regulation states that the residential component must be in place prior to or at the same time as the accessory component. Just so that you're aware, we have the idea about landscaping, building design. We don't have the authority to review that. if someone comes in for a single-family permit and it meets all the criteria. In this case, it's an oversized garage. Chapter 1710.030.n sets forth the criteria that you as Planning Commission must review in order to determine whether or not an oversized garage is appropriate on a particular lot. And it talks about the building material, the uses that are going to be allowed, landscaping that's being proposed, how is this being screened, it has to meet all setbacks, and that the use cannot be commercial or a home occupation or anything of that nature. So these aren't arbitrary, and if again, to the benefit of the applicant, if he brought in a building permit and 50% of the floor plan showed this as a residence, we wouldn't be here. He would just get a building permit, and what you see, the 3 stalls and the door, would be allowed visually along the street. I think the bigger issue is that it is a very small residential component, so it does trigger the oversized garage. When we reviewed it, set forth by the criteria that we're required to review, we just couldn't hit enough of the check marks to be able to support it. I think we can get there if we did have similar building materials to the residential structure, dealing with this as if it were a part of the property next door, and some confirmed landscaping along the street. I think we could get there, but I'll defer to the applicant and to the Planning Commission to see if that's a solution.
All right, Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can ask, if there's for a point of order, do we have a motion on the floor right now? Yes. I thought we did, because Karen offered. Say it again?
My fault then. Thank you, Vince. I thought there was an interruption before the motion was actually made, but Karen?
Well, we could, I'm interested in making a substitute motion, but the applicant has approached the microphone again, but are you willing to work this out a little bit longer, sir, is my question to the applicant.
Yeah, I'll think about it a little bit.
What I'd like to do is substitute the motion and move this to our next meeting.
Does that, comment on the motion, does that meet the publication requirements if we go 2 weeks?
Yes, for a conditional use permit, that works.
Okay. Would a 2-week continuance, is that
Yeah,
something that you
yes.
would? I
Thank
think that's
you.
a good motion then, Vince. So Vince made the motion to continue for, am I right, 2 weeks? September, 22nd?
You are correct. Or 21st.
21st.
September 21st. 7 and 14.
Math is hard. So Vince made the motion to continue to September 21st, and Haven seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion to continue? Mike, I have a light up from you.
I just hope we can take the sand, take the line off, and really work together so we can come up with a good solution. I think we've got a great homeowner, and we've got the planning is trying to work with. I hope we can come up with a good solution. I will be voting for the continuing.
All right, any other comments on the motion to continue? Mr. Winger, anything to add?
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
All those in favor of continuing, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is 23 UR 025, which is a conditional use permit to allow an oversized garage located at 4780 Cliff Drive. Aerial photograph shows the lot, which is approximately 3.89 acres in size and is accessed off of Cliff Drive. Property is zoned low-density residential 1 and is highlighted here on the map. Future land use of the property is low-density neighborhood, and Cliff Drive is identified as a collector street on the city's major street plan. This is a site plan showing the proposed location of the oversized garage. There's an existing house right here. Also, this area is located on well right there and a septic system there. And then you can see the treed area here that is adjacent to the proposed 42 by 24 oversized garage, accessed by an asphalt driveway off of Cliff Drive. Elevations showing the proposed garage. It's a 4-stall garage with a side access door, no living quarters, no commercial use anticipated in the garage. This is looking along Cliff Drive, I believe to the north maybe, and yeah, and looking along Cliff Drive to the south, you can see that the sign was posted in on the property. This is the existing structure of that's located at 4780 Cliff Drive, and this is looking to the area of the proposed garage. Looks like a little mountain bike feature there. If I had one in my yard, I'd be hurt right now, so good I don't live there. And again, there you go, there's a close-up of it. So this is the area where the existing or the proposed garage would be located. I think these trees might be removed for that. There's some red X's on the trees, and again, this isn't my application, so I'm sorry, but I don't have all the information. The garage itself would be more than 1,500 square feet. It would be an additional 1,008 square foot of garage space in an attached garage existing of 720 square feet, which does take it over the 1,500 square foot combined, and that's why this is in front of you as a conditional use permit. Went through all the criteria, and staff does recommend approval of the oversized garage due to the fact that it is on a large lot, it is relatively screened from the neighbors, and there is plenty of room for that on the property. The applicant is in the audience if you have any questions, and I will stand by.
Thanks, Kip. Could you, yeah, that was what I was going to ask for.
Read your mind.
I couldn't really tell on this, but it seems like access is coming through the existing driveway.
That is correct. That's my understanding.
Anything from the commission? Oh, Mike Gallagher made the motion to approve, and Brooke seconded. And Karen.
I just want to thank you. I just wanted to comment that this fits an oversized garage and how we abide by our statutes. And I just think this is, if the other applicant had something like this, he would have been approved. But this applicant has got it right, and I just wanted to say I approve it. So, yeah.
All right. Any other comments on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Any staff items or discussion items today? All right. Vince.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Chair. I know, I'm trying to remember, or recall some time ago, there was an effort or a suggestion to bring up registering VRBOs. Can you remind me of what we did back then, please?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So we are working on an ordinance amendment that would regulate vacation homes and bed and breakfasts. Right now, we have regulations for a bed and breakfast. Vacation homes, which is where you rent the entire structure and the owner of the property is an on-premises while you're renting it, are currently not allowed in Rapid City. Now, we know that any given day, there's an extreme number, and part of what we're looking at is having all short-term rentals be registered, and that is our way of making sure that they're paying the necessary taxes that a hotel potentially would pay. So, as you can expect, there is a lot of differing ideas from the various components of our community, whether it be the hotel industry or it be those that are benefiting from having a vacation home currently in Rapid City. So bear with us. This is a heavy lift. We're meeting next week with some state representatives on maybe trying to become more universal across the state with what those regulations might look like.
I know because I've attended at least one or maybe two of the focus groups that were reviewing this, but something that we were talking about earlier, when it comes to the neighborhood, somebody calls up and says, hey, you know, there's a whole lot of extra cars out here. Did we talk about, is there something that's being done about neighborhoods that have a complaint about potential rowdy parties and things like that? Or is that just standard city ordinances?
Mr. Chair? So if you have a neighbor that's having a rowdy party, it's a noise complaint, so you would call the police. If they're blocking traffic and you cannot get to your residence, that's a combination of police and potentially code enforcement, and depending upon the location, even parking enforcement might get involved.
I just wanted to bring that up because earlier it was mentioned in some of the conversations that we're having here that there was an inference that we don't do anything when there's, or the city doesn't have any kind of plan when there's abusage of these type of events. So let me leave it there then. Thank you.
Haven?
Vicki, you made a comment, it's kind of a small issue, but about renting the whole, a vacation home, renting the whole house. Is there a difference between that and renting a portion of the house?
Vicki?
Several things. One, let's say that you're just renting a bedroom and you would qualify as a bed and breakfast. Some people just rent a sofa. So you've got someone living on the property full-time. The primary use of the structure is residential, which lends itself to our issue with our housing shortage. When we have almost 1,000 vacation homes in Rapid City, that's 1,000 homes that families aren't living in. But a bed and breakfast, someone is living there. They are being a contributing part of a neighborhood and a part of the community, and they're getting an economic gain by just renting a bedroom or a sofa. We could delve into the accessory dwelling unit regulations, where let's say that you want to convert your basement into a basement apartment. We created regulations a few years ago that you can do that now, and you can rent that out legally as an accessory dwelling unit. Now you've got two family components living on one residential lot, which is really a plus. However, if you're taking that residential home off the market and you're making it a commercial building where you're renting that out, then one of the issues is that the owner isn't there while the occupants, the renters, are there for a temporary purpose. And we do get complaints that those don't get policed real well. We don't get a lot. For the number of vacation homes that we know we have, it's a small percentage that actually solicits complaints from neighbors. But when we do get a complaint, we look at the ordinance, what's allowed, what's not allowed, and we enforce the regulations as they're written. We don't go looking for them for many reasons. Number one, we have 3 code enforcement officers, and they handle nuisances as well as land use. We just don't have the staff to do it.
Anything else from the commission, or Haven?
Well, I had something on a different subject, so if somebody wants to add on the vacation homes, this would be a good time to start. Otherwise, I guess the comment was made here earlier about us addressing oversized garages, and maybe there does need to be an ordinance change. Is there something that could change with regard to the ordinance so we wouldn't be addressing that issue so much?
Vicki?
So for years, our ordinance read that you could have a maximum of 1,000 square foot of garage space, or 30% of the gross floor square footage of the residence, whichever was bigger. And we were bombarded with oversized garages as our homes, as we got more toys. And so we changed it to 1,500 square feet. We do acknowledge that we may need to bump that up to 2,000 square feet, or 30% of the gross floor area of the home. But this is at a time in our economy where our homes are actually getting smaller again because of the cost of construction. We've noticed that a lot of our 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes aren't the square footage they were 5 years ago, and you will be looking at a plat at your next meeting that's going to be creating small lots with homes that are going to be between 500 and 800 square feet. So then if you're allowed a 500 square foot home in a 2,000 square foot garage, what does that do to the character of the neighborhood? So it's a part of weighing all of that into it, but it's certainly on our radar that we're looking at what are the trends and how do we eliminate so many of these conditional use permits to meet the needs. And we can probably get there. We can probably get there where you would have to have a percentage of the structure residential, and it would have to be more than 25%, which was what we were looking at today. It was a 25-75% split between what was being used residential versus garage.
All right, Mike Quasney?
Okay, not to kick this too far down the road, but that's why we have so much storage in this city. I can't believe how many storage spaces keep showing up. I keep thinking we're overdone, and another one shows. And I'm told that they're all full. So that probably is the reason we need oversized garages.
For sure. Anything else from the commission? Perfect. Brooke made the motion, Karen seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Aye.